Dane Whitman is a human Caucasian male of British origin. Standing 6 foot and weighing 210 pounds, he wears a black suit of armor with a black fur cape. He also wears a black knight helmet. Additionally, he has brown hair and brown eyes. Dane Whitman was born in Gloucester, Massachusetts to a rich family. In his youth, he studied physics. Whitman was best known as the modern-day Black Knight, continuing a legacy that began in medieval England. The first Black Knight, Whitman's ancestor Sir Percy of Scandia, lived during the reign of King Arthur. Percy's murder at the hands of his nemesis, Mordred, began a string of successors, all of them Percy's descendants. The Black Knight's legacy is revived by Whitman's uncle Nathan Garrett, who became the supervillain Black Knight II. After becoming mortally wounded during a battle with Iron Man, he escapes to his estate, summons his nephew to confess his crimes, and asks him to restore honor to their family legacy and atone for Garrett's misdeeds, giving Whitman the weapons that he used for his crime. As a young man, Dane Whitman fell in love with Ashima Chopra, who developed terminal cancer. Dane planned to visit her in the hospital and propose, but lost his nerve and fell out of touch. Refusing treatment, Ashima died within a year after secretly giving birth to a baby girl, Jackie. As an adult, Dane inherited his uncle Nathan's castle. He was unaware that his uncle had been the villainous Black Knight until finding notes and inventions. Eventually, he came upon the dark, shadowy sword known as the Ebony Blade. Passing his tests, Sir Percival explained the history of the Ebony Blade and its curse. Taking the weapon, Dane decided to be a hero, joining the Masters of Evil just as his uncle did, but with the intent of infiltrating them from within. This he did to aid the Avengers, but they did not trust him until he later assisted them against the time-traveling villain, Kang the Conqueror. Once in modern times, Whitman learns that the Ebony Blade is cursed. Every time it draws blood, it drives its user closer to madness. Whitman frees Sir Percy's spirit from the earthly plane, purging the blood curse from the sword. Whitman resumes active duty with the Avengers, helping his teammates Wasp and Captain Marvel experiment their powers, and battles against the fourth version of the Masters of Evil when they invade Avengers Mansion. When the Submariner used the sword to kill his wife Marina, who had become a monster, the blood curse is revived. The curse begins to transform Whitman's body into the same mystic metal as the blade. He is forced to don an exoskeleton when the curse's creeping paralysis begins to affect his mobility. He also shows signs of mental instability. Ultimately, the blood curse becomes so virulent that it will draw blood from anyone even touching the Black Knight. After the Avengers disbanded, Whitman joined Thor, the god of thunder, to defend Asgard from an invasion of the Egyptian god Set. After the battle, the curse converted the Black Knight to a statue of stone. The statue is brought by the Avengers to the Knight's castle in England, under the care of Lady Victoria Bentley, an old friend of Whitman. After Lady Victoria tries a spell on the statue, Sir Percy takes possession of Whitman's body to stop the blood curse. He takes a young Irishman called Sean Dolan as a squire. Together they go to Doctor Strange's house to ask for help in battle against Morgan Le Fay and Mordred, who intend to return to the physical world using Morgan's old castle in Ireland. The witch summoned the demon Balor, but the heroes are rescued by Valkyrie. The Black Knight begins a relation with Victoria Bentley and keeps Sean Dolan as a squire. The Black Knight would return to his kingdom in New Avalon, his own private country where he rules as king. He would begin a series of monster hunts, going after every beast and demon he possibly could. This leads to the events we see in Midnight Suns. Black Knight embodies a legacy, steeped in honor, chivalry, and a complex relationship with a cursed legacy. Stemming from a long line of knights, Dane grapples with the burden of a dark family history, intertwined with a mystical ebony blade, a weapon passed down through generations. He is a descendant of Sir Percy of Scandia. Dane took on the mantle of Black Knight to redeem his family's name tainted by his villainous uncle. As the Black Knight, Dane relied on his intelligence, combat skills, and mystical power of the Ebony Blade to battle evil and safeguard the world. His journey as the Black Knight sees him navigating a world filled with both medieval lore and contemporary challenges. Dane has often found himself entangled in epic conflicts, confronting magical threats, and forming alliances with various superheroes across the world. Throughout his tenure, Dane has experienced personal turmoil, struggling with the temptations and consequences of wielding the Ebony Blade, which at times has led him down a darker path. He consistently seeks to balance the noble intentions behind his heroism with the potential corruption posed by the cursed weapon. Dane's connections with the superhero community have expanded, fostering alliances with groups like the Avengers and relationships with individuals such as Cersei and Captain Britain. Despite grappling with personal demons and the weight of his legacy, Dane Whitman's commitment to honor, bravery, and heroism remains a defining aspect of his character as the Black Knight. The Black Knight is officially considered a Tier 3 metahuman on the Shield Files ranking scale. Whitman started out as a scientist, though specializing in physics. He is proficient in a wide array of advanced sciences and technologies, including genetic and mechanical engineering, and continues to approach things from a scientific perspective more often than not, despite his ties to the world of magic. Whitman has become somewhat familiar with magic due to his time working with beings like Thor and Doctor Strange. While Whitman himself does not have any mystical techniques or powers, he is well versed in the knowledge of how spells and magic work. Whitman is an excellent fighter, able to hold his own against such highly skilled fighters as Captain America and Wolverine. However, he is usually outclassed by fighters of this caliber. He can still fight well enough that he is not beaten by the average superhuman. Whitman is widely considered one of, if not the very best swordsman on Earth. Whitman has been trained in every style of swordsmanship from fencing to kendo to samurai. Dane is a proficient swordsman whose skills have allowed him to best the swordsman, a superhuman specifically tailored for swordsmanship in combat. Dane wears a protective suit of chain-link armor, apparently of elven design. This armor is made of a medieval metal that grants him a mystic defense from certain types of sorcery. Dane also possesses a necklace that can control his armor, sword, and shield, and reappear whenever he says the word Avalon. Now for Black Knight's most famous weapon, and even dare I call it a superpower, the shadowy mystic weapon known as the Ebony Blade. The Ebony Blade is Black Knight's trademark sword, being used by him in every single battle that he fights. The sword grants him a plethora of mystic powers and supernatural abilities, such as the Ebony Blade deflects most magical attacks. When angled in a certain way, it can instead absorb energy directed at it. It seems mostly immune to magical effects. Black Knight can use this to slice through magical force blast, shields, and even incantations. The Ebony Blade can slice directly through any substance, except for other enchanted weapons or extremely strong metals like adamantium, although this last bit is contradictory. Even piercing Iron Man's extremis armor with one slash, though how much of a certain substance it can cut through depends on the strength of the wielder. The sword is also completely indestructible. The blade and its wielder are linked. The wielder can be transported to the blade's location through mystic ceremony, or sometimes even act of will. In a few cases, Dane Whitman has been transported into the body of an ancestor to wield the blade. The wielder can also, when the sword so chooses, telekinetically summon the blade to themselves or manipulate it in a fashion similar to Thor using Mjolnir. Dane once unconsciously used the black sword to block mental intrusion by psychics. Synapse described trying to read his mind with the weapon in hand as trying to probe a curtain of infinite darkness. Merlin has enchanted the blade so that its wielder can be injured but not killed. The one exception is when the wielder is attacked by the weapon forged by the same starstone as the blade, such as the dagger Merlin himself crafted. Sir Reginald once stated it also gives its wielder healing abilities to complement this facet. The Ebony Blade, when sufficiently fueled by the user's murderous rage, can further strengthen and empower the weaponer to incredible extents. According to Merlin, the link between the blade and the wielder means that evil acts committed by the wielder can taint the blade. If used to spill too much in evil acts, it will begin to crave blood and induce the wielder to kill even more. If enough blood is shed by the wielder becomes the Blood Wraith. Only a worthy person can resist it. Dane Whitman once cleansed the blade of the taint accumulated over the years by casting it into the brazier of truth, but it could become tainted if used for evil again. In the hands of the Blood Wraith, the blade is shown to have the proclivity to feed upon lost souls in order to increase the curse's power. Such an effect cursed its wielder to grow into monolithic proportions, gaining incalculable strength and durability, mainly by making its wielder immaterial. The blade has also shown itself the ability to affect intangible people, as well as be resistant to phasing, as demonstrated when the Vision tried and failed to pass through it. While in possession of the blade, the wielder is completely immune to aging. This meant that Black Knight, since he's completely bonded to it, will never age past his physical peak. Additionally, if he were to die by any means while holding the sword will physically revive him. If Black Knight is bloodlusted, while he does become stronger and more powerful, he tends to lose control. In this mode, he sometimes swings wildly, losing his form and technique. Additionally, this can also cause him to attack his allies. Without the sword, Dane becomes a normal human. In this case, he becomes vulnerable to being killed and will not come back from it. Additionally, his hand-to-hand combat skills, while still proficient, are not on par with to face monsters or exceptional combatants.